Welcome to Upper Sandusky Community Library's Crafternoon. My name is Rachel and I'll be helping you make this month's craft, our wee fairy lantern. So if you've already been to the library and gotten your craft pack, grab your scissors and let's get started. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to cut out your fairy. And you're going to want to, if you can see that very well, cut it out so there's no white showing, and especially get in that little area between her legs and her arms there. I don't know if you can see so very well. But get that all cut out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our sponge and the brown paint, which is also a paint and Mod Podge mixture, and we're going to cover the front side, the black side of our fairy with the paint. Just smear it on there really good. Now I poured my paint out on a paper plate so I'd have a little room to work. Whatever works for you. Just get her all covered. Poor thing. And then we're going to put it on the inside of our jar. So take your jar, and we're going to want to position it about 1 inch from the bottom. So just stick her in there, and it's a little awkward, I know. Just get her stuck, and then you can smush her around, because it's not going to matter if it gets a little messy. Put her around there. And reach down. You can kind of pat her down with your sponge. There we go. And once you get her, she's a little too low. I'm going to bring mine up a little bit. Once you get her down there, and you want her so it looks like she's sitting down, and it looks kind of messy like that. Don't worry about it because you're not going to see that part. Once you got her stuck to the sides, then take your sponge and just kind of smash her down up against this, well, not smash her down, press her down gently against the side of your glass. You're just kind of making sure that she sticks there. Now if you have a paintbrush at home, this might be easier with that. But the sponge will work too if you use the tips of your fingers to press it down in there, or if you got small hands. So once she's all pressed down there, I'll get her feet there. All right. And it'll just look like this, just kind of pressed up against the side. And don't worry about how messy she kind of looks now. It all works out in the end. So once she's on the inside of your jar, now we're going to cover the outside of your jar with that same mixture. Just smear it on there, just a thin coat, because this is what's going to help us to attach our tissue paper. And once you got it covered all around, you don't have to worry about the threads or the very bottom, just around the edges there and up at the top. Just a nice thin coat. Messy fingers. There we go. And then take your tissue paper and you're just going to lay it flat onto your jar and just press it down. You want to kind of smooth it out as you go. But if it's not perfectly smooth, don't worry about it. Wrinkles kind of give it a nice kind of old-fashioned look. So just press it all down like that, all the way around. Now you can overlap it if you like it, but I'd like to trim some of mine. So you can take your scissors and just trim off the extra. Leave a little overhang though, because you don't want a bare spot. And if you have extra on the bottom, you can just fold that in and we can paint that flat as well. But you don't want to cut it off right at the edge because you want to make sure it's covered all the way. Now once you get it covered, you're going to have these edges that don't have any paint. We're going to cover the whole thing over again with the same mixture. So just dab it on there, spread it on there, and help seal those edges, even on the bottom. Put some on the edges there just like that, and then just start pressing them in. And you're going to do that with the whole jar until all the white is covered. Now you can make this as heavy as you like, but try to make it even coverage, however you choose to do it, all over. That way it has a nice shine when you put the light in. So you get that all covered. And then the hard part is waiting for this to dry. If you want to be a little hasty, kind of like I do, get out a hairdryer and just blow it around. But it'll end up looking something like this. See, it's not a perfect coverage or anything like that because you want it to look kind of old. And this has a gloss in the Mod Podge, so it'll have a nice shine to it. So this is what you'll kind of end up looking like. And our next step is moss. Woohoo! We got the moss. Yes, we do. So, take your moss and stretch it out kind of like this. If you have to, roll it a little bit to make it more kind of like a moss log. I don't know. So get that ready. Pull it out, set that aside. And take your little glue packet, and we're just going to snip the edge like we do, just so you can control the flow. And then we're just going to squeeze that out along the bottom of your jar. And because I don't mind messy fingers, I'm just going to smear it around a little bit. And then we're going to attach that moss to the bottom, so it kind of looks like ground cover for our fairy. Just smear it, smear. And then I'm just going to set mine down here and just start pressing. Now you don't want your moss to go too much higher than your fairy, because you want to make it look like she's sitting on it. So if you can see the outline of your fairy on the inside of your jar, kind of make it so that her fairy tushy is sitting on the grass. I never thought I'd be at work and explaining about fairy tushies, but here we are. So again, it's all how you like it. And if you're around my age, you've probably seen Bob Ross on PBS with his happy trees and the Make It a Happy World. This is your world. You make it as happy, messy, mossy as you want it. So once you get your moss all down on the bottom just like that, see, it's not perfect, and you can go back and trim it up if you want to with your scissors. We got him all there. And now we're going to start on our little flowers. If you can see on our example, I took 2 of the flowers, a light and the dark, and I put them together and kind of offset so the petals weren't even. You can do it whatever you want. If you want to leave them single, again, it's your world. So make it however you want to. But what I did to do the offset flowers, like what's on the example, I just took 1 of each color, put a little dab of glue, which I think I still have some on my finger. So I'll just touch that. And then offset it. Offset means I just put the petals so they're in between each other. Just touch the middle like that. And then once it dries a little bit, you can just bend the flower petals up, so it kind of gives it a more three-dimensional look. Now, if you want to, and what I did for mine is I just pinched off a piece of that yellow sponge that you have, just a tiny little piece, and you can't even see it on here. And then I dipped that a little bit in glue, and then I just stuck that in the middle and pressed it down. It's kind of like the center of the flower. And you can do that if you want, again, however you'd like to do it. But it kind of ends up looking, I don't know if you can see that at all, a little bit like that. And then I like to do a little cluster and then one little fella off to the side there. So get your flowers and arrange them any way you like to. Again, use the glue and just stick it to the moss. And then once those are stuck to your moss, then what you're going to do is you're going to take your fabric strip here and your piece of rope and get your wire strip of ivy. And first we're going to tie our fabric strip around it because we kind of want to make this look kind of aged and a little ruffled. So we're going to tie it around. And I tied mine to the side, that way it doesn't interfere with seeing the fairy. Just tie it, and that wasn't tied very even. Tie it like this, put a little knot in it, and then take your scissors and you're just going to cut the edges into strips, so it's going to be a little more raggedy looking because we want it to look kind of aged. And do that on both your sides. One strip may do it, you may want to cut it into a couple, however you like, and just let it hang down. Then you're going to take your rope or twine, do the same thing with it, just tie it kind of underneath the threads. I guess I should have said that. On that little lip that's right underneath the threads. Tie a knot right with the other one, and then you're going to unravel the edges of your twine. Again, we're just making it look kind of old and frilly, like it's been used. No fairies were harmed in the filming of this tutorial. Don't even worry about it. So just unfray those. And then finally you're going to take that wire leaf trim and you're just going to wrap it around the edge too. We're just kind of building our layers. And then it's wire, so you can just twist it like that. And then you just kind of fluff everything out a little bit like that. These aren't very frilly. There we are. We're getting there. So this one doesn't have my flowers on it, but you get the point. Kind of break them apart like that. See how I cut the cloth into strips. Got that all set? Now you're going to take your candle. Now, here's my candle disclaimer. Never leave a candle unattended. These are just tea lights, so they have the metal container and they won't burn very long. So especially if you have kids, I recommend you get a battery operated tea light and put it in there. Because with these, the jar will get warm. So if you have kids in your house or you're afraid of cat knocking it over, that's my house, then go with the battery operated. But this will do until you can get that, and also let you see your fairy when you're finished. So drop your candle light in there. Take your jar lid, and we're going to screw it on top. You may have to adjust your leaves a little bit. There you are. Fluff it up some. And since this has the flowers, there you have it. You'll have your wee fairy lantern, and it's too bright in here for you to be able to see it lit up. But if you look at the directions in your packet, this is what it kind of looks like. If you could see that when it's lit up, I don't know, down here in the bottom corner. Yeah. So there you are, you have your fairy lantern. And thank you so much for joining me this month. Next month, we're going to give it a go trying an altered book project. So, we're at the library, we're tearing up books. Don't tell anybody. I'll see you next month. Have a great day.